Okay, so the third element of the assurance engagement is our criteria. So it's important to have a criteria because that will be the basis for our judgment. For audits, this is the benchmark that is used to evaluate or measure the subject matter, including where relevant benchmarks for presentation and disclosure. So the criteria could be established or a specifically developed criteria. Unestablished criteria are those that are embodied in laws or regulations or issued by authorized or recognized bodies of experts. Okay, and if this is tailor-made for this specific engagement, then that is called a specifically developed criteria. So the criteria should be suitable, meaning bagay siya, fitting ang criteria. So this is required for reasonably consistent evaluation or measurement of a subject matter within the context of professional judgment. So without the frame of reference provided by suitable criteria, any conclusion is open to individual interpretation and misunderstanding. Okay, so there should be a standard on how to evaluate the financial information or the assertion. So what is a suitable criteria? It has this following characteristics. It should be relevant, complete, reliable, neutral, and understandable. Examples of criteria for specific subject matter and subject matter information. For example, your assurance engagement is an audit. So what is your subject matter? These are the financial statements. What do you get from this subject matter? The recognition, measurement, and disclosure represented in the financial statements. Again, this is the focus of the auditor in his audit. He has to ascertain whether the recognition, measurement, and disclosures really conform with our criteria. And what is our criteria here? The Philippine Financial Reporting Standards, or it could be the Philippine Accounting Standards. Like for example, you will check the measurement of the inventories. So what is the rule with regards to inventory? So you have to value them at net realizable value. And how do we get the net realizable value? It should be the same procedures as what is being specified in the PFRS. So that is what the auditor will look into. Does this follow what the requirement of PFRS? Unsa man ang istorya sa PFRS bahin sa iyahang presentation, disclosure, measurement, classification. Then what if his engagement is on assurance on internal controls? So what is the subject matter? That is the internal control or a certain process. And what will the auditor check? That is the assertion about the effectiveness of the internal control. And asa man niya i-base ang iyahang judgment aning assertions? He will base it in a certain framework such as an internal control framework. For example, COSO or the Committee of Sponsoring Organizations, or any individual control objectives specifically designed for the engagement. For compliance audits, its subject matter is the compliance with regulations, law, or contracts. So the auditor will look into the assertions about the compliance with regulations, law, or contract. And what will be the criteria of the auditor? That will be the applicable law, regulation, or contract. Okay? Makita ra ba ang relationship sa criteria with the subject matter information? So kani ang mga basihan ni auditor sa pag-check niya if the financial statements are fairly stated or not, or the internal control is effective or not, or the company is compliant with the laws and regulations. So in obtaining evidence, in checking for the compliance or conformity with the criteria, the auditor or the practitioner should maintain professional skepticism. So what is professional skepticism? So when the word skeptic means manggidudahon. Okay? So kinahanglan na siya questioning mind. What is a questioning mind? So, kinahanglan alert siya for any circumstances that may give him an idea that the financial statements may have some mistakes or naabay mga misstatements. Dili ta mo hatag og 100% trust sa naggama sa information, nag-prepare sa information. Kinahanglan na agad tay i-maintain nga pagdududa, but in a professional level. So, an attitude of professional skepticism means the practitioner makes a critical assessment with a questioning mind of the validity of evidence obtained and is alert to evidence that contradicts or brings into question the reliability of documents or representations by the responsible parties. Just the same when you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? If you give your 100% trust, you will not think of any anomalies, right? Dili ka maghunahuna og bati sa imuhang boyfriend or girlfriend kung 100% imong trust. So, mga auditors, they should not give 100% trust to the responsible party. Why? Nga dili man sila mohatag og 100% nga trust, because our goal here is to be able to provide assurance. And if mohatag tag 100% trust, we might overlook some matters or items nga nag-contain di ay og mga misstatements. So, kinahanglan tang abtik. Kinahanglan ta nga alert. Diba? Ingon ana man basta magduda ta, kinaabtikan kayo ta mangita og ebidensya. The same goes when you ask for permission from your parents, diba? And then you already tried before, nakasway na ka nga imuha silang gibutbutan. So, gama-gama ka og alibay before, and then tungod kay nasakpan nila nga nag-alibay ra day ka, sa sunod na pud nga higayon nga mag-ask kag permission, di ba? Naagi questioning mind si mama, na questioning mind si papa. Ano sa man nga klase nga questioning mind, ma'am? Literally questioning kaayo sila, di ba? Dagan kay sila pangutana, asa man kapadong, sa kaurasan mo uli, kinsay kauban nimo, yana. So, dapat nga na po si auditor, pero not overly, ha, dili sobra nga duda nga to the point na lain na imong tanaw sa tanang mga members sa accounting department or sa tanang management, bati na kay kagtanaw. Dili po nga na, dapat again professional level. Okay, next would be the sufficient appropriate evidence, or evidence should be sufficient and appropriate. When we say sufficient, kinahanglan enough atong evidence. Sakto ang quantity. And if it is appropriate, meaning it is relevant and reliable. So, the quality of our evidence. Even if you have so much evidence, pero dili siya solid, ano na siya kanang huyang imong evidence, dili gihapon na siya pwede, dili siya kapasar. On the contrary, if your evidence is solid, even if dili kaayo siya nga nakadaghan, pero nindot ang quality sa evidence, mas preferred siya compared sa mas daghan nga evidence pero dili siya kasaligan. Okay? So, kinahanglan yun ang quality mo ano pa siya, makasupport siya sa imuhang conclusion. Dili necessary nga daghan kay kagkuhaon nga evidence, daghan kayo kaog dapat i-gather. Kay naman tay time limitation when we conduct the audit. So, nindot siya kung maayo ang atong evidence, nindot og quality ang ato ang evidence. Maubito na siya kinahanglan, di ba, sa korte, ang basihan sa judge sa kung ipadayon ba ang usa ka kaso is ang substance o ang number of evidence, pero mas hugot ang substance, ang sulod sa evidence, ang quality sa evidence. So, evidence is more reliable when it is obtained from independent sources outside the entity. It should be independent, meaning dili sila connected within the company. The related controls for the internally generated evidence are effective. So, dapat ang mga policies and procedures sa company related in the generation of the information, kinahanglan po siya nga effective. Kay kung wala po sila internal controls, dili na to masaligan ng information nga gi-produce adto nga specific nga department. It is obtained directly by the practitioner, such as observation of the application of a control. It is better than those obtained directly by inference. Nasa man ang inference? For example, if you can recall, di ba si Thomas, pag-ingon sa mga apostles nga nabanhaw si Jesus, nituo ba siya dayon? Kay dili lagi siya motuo og inference, di ba? Igor gisulti sa lain. Igor siya nangutana, nga na. So may details adto, dili enough nga igor nga mangutana. Ang iyaha is to see is to believe. So, katong higayon nga nakita na gyud niya si Jesus, nahikaman na gyud niya ang samad, adto pa siya nituo kay para niya mas reliable kung siya mismo ang maka-witness. So, mao po ni siya ang iyahang principle. So, mas better kung si practitioner mismo ang makakita. It exists in documentary form. So, for example, nga naman nga pag before ikasal, why do we need to get a senomar? Diba? It's not enough when you say that I am single. I am not yet married. Pero nowadays, i-require na nga magkuha sa PSA og senomar. Si senomar, ma'am, Certificate of No Marriage. I-require siya. So, nga naman na may documentary form, kay mas makasaligan man ang document kumpara kung igura istorya or igura ipasalig. Kinahanglan gid nga na ay evidence, di ba? Nganong kinahanglan man tag ID, di ba? No ID, no entry when you apply, when you book a plane, nga kung mo book ta og ticket for boat. Why do we need ID? Kay dili man enough nga iguro ta mosulti nga ako si Juan de la Cruz. We need an evidence and it should be in a document form. Then those provided by original documents are more reliable than those provided by photocopies or facsimiles. Of course, we rely better on the original documents.